Hello, everybody. This is Vince Russo from the WMARK Newsroom. And we got some hot late-breaking news. Bro, TK, everybody's favorite Tony Khan, is mad, bro. He's mad. He has allowed Better Call Khan to get to him. And, bro, he is now making public statements concerning yours truly that I really don't think he's thinking through. Now, on a recent edition of Pardon My Take, Pardon My Take, whatever that is, Tony Khan was interviewed, and here's the story. AEW has continued the legacy of WCW by finding a home on TNT and paying homage to WCW in a variety of ways. When Tony Khan pitched the idea of AEW to Kevin Riley, he mentioned WCW and how the company thrived on TNT with Nitro before it all came crashing down. Appearing on Pardon My Take, Khan gives his reasons as to what went wrong with WCW. This is a comment from TK himself. Some of the things that went wrong for WCW were giving creative control to a lot of the wrestlers, and some of the storylines were asinine. Some of the ideas were great, but it was a very disorganized show. And then, when they brought somebody else in from the WWF to be a writer, Vince Russo, he made it 10 times worse. He took a problem. They had a massive hangnail, and he just chopped off the arm. That was part of the problem. Then you had another major issue, which was management. Most successful wrestling companies have had one supreme commander at the top. He's owned it, booked everything, run the place, run management. Whether it's Vince McMahon organizing everything, Cowboy Bill Watts, Eddie Graham, Fritz von Erich, countless others. That made sense as a business model. Strong management WCW didn't have, and I could provide. I'm a more organized booker than anyone WCW had, he said. Kevin Riley exited Turner Media in August 2020, but the partnership between AEW and Turner continues to thrive, with AEW adding Rampage in August before Dynamite and Rampage moved to TBS in 2022. Though AEW will not move on TNT in 2022, TNT will host quarterly specials. Blah, 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 blah. Bro, here's the problem with guys like Tony Khan and Dave Meltzer and AEW marks. Here's the problem, bro. They want to come to a fight, but they want to come to a fight totally unarmed. And when you come to a fight unarmed, you are going to get massacred, especially if it's a fight with Vince Russo. Because, Tony, you really want to open that Pandora's box with me? You really want to talk about this, huh? When they brought somebody else in from the WWF to be a writer, Vince Russo had made it 10 times worse. He took a problem. They had a massive hangnail, and he chopped off the arm. Okay, Tony, let's go there, because like Meltzer, like all the other dirt sheet marks, every one of them, like the AEW fan base, you are unarmed, Tony, which means you try to ignore the facts that are there and have been there for 20 years. You think if you talk out your ass that people are just going to take your word. When the fact of the matter is, Tony, all they have to do is go back in history and look at the ratings. You want to talk about me turning a hangnail into chopping off an arm? Let's talk about that, Tony. Because, Tony, when you come armed to a fight, you come armed with numbers and ratings and facts. Not your opinion, Tony, because quite frankly, the mindless, the brainless care about your opinion. The fact is, you've done nothing in the wrestling business but taken your father's money and started a plaything. That is all you've done, Tony. Tony, if anybody had a father who had the money that you had, they could have done the same exact thing that you did. But we're not spoiled, rotten, rich kids, Tony. We work. We're blue-collar workers. And I worked at WCW. So let's talk about the hangnail to the losing of a limb. Tony, when you look at the numbers and you look at the last show WCW did, and then when you look at the last show Ed Ferrara and myself did 3 months later, over a 3-month span, the last WCW show, the last Russo Ferrara show before I went home. In 3 months, Tony, you know what those numbers will show you? The numbers will show you, Tony, that the ratings went up 1 entire ratings point. Now, Tony, is that your definition of taking a hangnail and cutting off a limb? In a matter of 3 months, the ratings in head-to-head competition with the WWE that was red hot at the time. The show prior to Russo and Ferrara, Russo Ferrara's last show, 1 entire ratings point in 3 months. So, Tony, I guess that is your idea of failure and success because you look at yourself as a success. When again, Tony, if I look at the numbers, I will see that the first show on TNT drew 1.4 million people. That's what the numbers will tell me, Tony. And the numbers will tell me that the last show drew 570,000 people. All right, Tony, you were on a Friday night. Let's make the Friday night excuse. But Tony, prior to that, when NXT was gone and you no longer had head-to-head competition, bro, you guys weren't even breaking 1 million. You guys were doing about 800, 900,000. Tony, I could do the math. 1.4 million minus 800,000. Tony, 600,000 viewers disappeared. Whoosh. Gone. Vanished. Tony, you had 1.4 million eyeballs on your show. The fact of the matter is the numbers tell us your show wasn't good enough to keep them there, Tony. So we lost about 600,000 of them. And you're going to sit here and talk about my failure and your success when the facts and the numbers tell you a completely different story? Tony, you cannot come to a fight with a BB gun because what you're doing is, I'm not your fan base. I'm not a gullible, brainless, senseless idiot. I'm not going to believe what you sell me, Tony. You got to back it up with facts, Tony. And the facts are there. Russo Ferrara, first 3 months, increased the ratings point by 1 whole ratings point head to head with Raw, bro, which was kicking our ass because Ferrara and Russo built Raw. Compared to 1.4 million to 800,000 with no competition. Now, Tony, what are we going to talk about? Are we going to talk about, oh, bro, it's a different time. It's a different time. There are different ways that people watch the show now. Well, you know what, Tony? Nielsen just did a study. I know you don't like facts that don't line up with your bullshit, but Nielsen Ratings just did a study, and that study said far and away, people are still watching television the old tradition way on the TV. Is streaming services, are they gaining ground? Yes, but they're not there yet. The majority of the viewers are watching on television. It's a study Nielsen just did. So, Tony, listen, I'm warning you because I'm a gentleman and I'm a nice guy. You don't want to go there, Tony. You don't want to go there with me. You don't want to go there with my track record and your track record when it comes to writing a television show. There was no time in my career, Tony, that I ever lost 800,000 viewers. There wasn't a single time that I ever lost the amount of viewers that you have lost from day one. And you can go check those numbers. You could check every company I ever worked for. My numbers did not go from 1.4 million to 800,000, 900,000. Because you know why, Tony? I would have been fired if that happened. Tony, we even brought TNA to 2 million viewers, bro. TNA on Spike TV. Tony! 2 million viewers on Spike TV. But Tony, nobody can fire you. So that 800 can go to 700, can go to 500, can go to 400, and you will still claim that you are right up there with Vince McMahon, Cowboy Bill Watts, Eddie Graham, and Fritz Von Erich. You and Dave Meltzer will still convince each other you are Booker of the Year, Tony Khan. You, Tony, are Booker of the Year despite losing in the neighborhood of 600,000 viewers. So, Tony, you've opened up this box now. You've opened up this fight now. You're starting to throw stones now in a war you cannot win. Because, Tony, I don't shoot my mouth off. I don't speak out of my ass on opinion. I talk facts and I talk numbers. And those facts and those numbers will never go away. Tony, rather than cutting promos on Vince Russo and trying in whatever way to, I guess, insult me, I would be more concerned wondering where my audience went. Why couldn't we maintain those 1.4 million viewers? Why can't we do even 1 million viewers now that we don't have NXT as head-to-head? These are the things that I would be concerned with. I would not be out there talking about a writer who wrote a wrestling show 20 years ago. Tony, man, take care of your own house. Don't worry about me, bro. Take care of your own house. That's my advice to you, young TK. That is it, everybody. This has been Vince Russo for WMARK.